Tired of watching your hard-earned paycheck vanish before the end of the month? You work tirelessly for your money, yet true financial independence always feels like a mirage hovering just out of reach. We have all felt that quiet panic staring at a bank statement, wondering how everyday people actually escape the daily grind. The cycle of earning and spending feels endless, leaving little room for long-term security. But what if the secret to building lasting wealth relies less on securing a massive salary and much more on what you choose to actively measure? Meet Maya. Just a few years ago, she had absolutely zero investing experience and completely relied on her bi-weekly paycheck to survive. The idea of generating passive income felt like a luxury reserved for Wall Street insiders or those born into wealth. Then, she discovered a simple, transformative practice that flipped her entire financial script upside down. She started what we call a dividend watch, a meticulous, deliberate system for tracking every single cent her money earned entirely on its own. To understand Maya's journey, we first need to define a dividend. Simply put, a dividend is a portion of a company's profit paid directly back to its shareholders. When you own shares in a dividend-paying company or an ETF, which is an exchange-traded fund that bundles many different stocks together into one package, you get paid simply for holding the investment. It is literal passive income, requiring no ongoing labor or daily management once the initial investment is securely made. Maya started her journey incredibly small. She opened a standard brokerage account and purchased a single share of a reliable, low-cost dividend ETF. A month later, she received her very first payout. It was exactly 32 cents. Most people would laugh at such a remarkably tiny amount, dismissing it as meaningless. Maya did not laugh. She opened a blank spreadsheet, typed in the exact date, and proudly logged her newly acquired 32 cents. That simple spreadsheet quickly became her ultimate financial scoreboard. By logging that tiny deposit, she made the invisible mechanics of wealth building highly visible. The dividend watch was no longer just a theoretical concept she read about online. It was a living document proving her money was finally working for her. She realized in that moment that she was no longer just a consumer spending her wages. She was an owner accumulating productive assets. The psychological power of this active tracking cannot be overstated. Every time Maya received an email notification of a new payout, she immediately opened her laptop and updated her tracker. Seeing those numbers populate row by row triggered a profound, lasting shift in her daily motivation. She started finding creative, painless ways to cut unnecessary expenses from her budget, eagerly funneling those saved dollars directly back into her growing dividend portfolio. According to behavioral economics studies, visualizing tangible progress is one of the most effective ways to sustain long-term habits. When we see clear evidence of our efforts yielding results, our brains release dopamine, strongly reinforcing the positive behavior. Maya was essentially hacking her own psychology to build wealth. The stock market fluctuates wildly from day to day, but dividend payouts from established blue-chip companies tend to remain remarkably stable, providing a steady, comforting drumbeat of positive reinforcement. Soon, Maya encountered the astonishing magic of compound interest. This powerful phenomenon happens when your investments earn a return, and then those returns earn their own returns over time. By setting her account to automatically reinvest her dividends to buy more fractional shares, her passive income stream began to grow exponentially. Her initial 32 cents became $3, then $30, multiplying without any additional effort on her part. The compounding engine was now fully ignited and running smoothly. She did not need to constantly relearn the mechanics of dividends or ETFs. She simply let the established system run its course. The Dividend Watch spreadsheet transformed from a simple historical log into a powerful visualization of her future freedom. She added a new column to project her estimated annual passive income, watching the projected totals climb higher with every single deposit she made. To maximize her efforts and protect her growing wealth, Maya learned about asset allocation, the strategic practice of dividing investments among different categories to balance risk and reward. She diversified her holdings intelligently, adding a careful mix of high-yield dividend stocks and reliable dividend growth companies to her portfolio. This thoughtful approach ensured that an unexpected cut in a dividend from one single company would not derail her entire passive income stream. She also utilized tax-advantaged accounts to significantly accelerate her progress. By opening a Roth IRA, an individual retirement account that offers tax-free growth and tax-free withdrawals in retirement, she completely shielded her compounding dividends from the IRS. Every single dollar generated inside that Roth IRA was completely hers to keep forever, supercharging her long-term journey toward true financial freedom. Of course, the journey was not without its sudden, terrifying hurdles. A severe market downturn hit the global economy, and the total value of Maya's portfolio dropped by a staggering 15% in a matter of weeks. Panic is the completely natural human response to seeing a sea of red numbers dominating a brokerage screen. Many new investors sell everything in fear and walk away at exactly the wrong moment, locking in their losses permanently. But Maya had a powerful secret weapon against the rising panic. She calmly looked at her dividend watch spreadsheet. While the underlying share prices were down significantly, her actual dividend income had not dropped at all. In fact, because she was still consistently buying new shares at much lower prices, her dividend yield, the percentage of income she received relative to the current share price, was actually increasing rapidly. The tracker mathematically proved the underlying strategy was still working perfectly. Her focus completely and permanently shifted away from daily volatile stock prices. The only metric that truly mattered to her now was the steady, relentless upward climb of her passive income. She started setting tangible, exciting goals tied directly to real-world living expenses. Her very first major milestone was generating enough reliable monthly dividends to completely cover her high-speed internet bill. The day she crossed that specific threshold was an absolute revelation. Her investments were now actively paying for a concrete, necessary part of her daily life. The internet was effectively free forever, courtesy of her past financial discipline and consistent tracking. This tangible, real-world victory fueled an even more aggressive saving and investing strategy, pushing her to find even more money to deploy. The financial milestones started falling rapidly, like perfectly lined-up dominoes. Next, her growing dividends fully covered her monthly utility bills. Then they expanded to cover her weekly groceries. The simple spreadsheet that started with a humble 32 cents was now accurately tracking thousands of dollars in robust, annual passive cash flow. The underlying math was entirely undeniable, and her forward momentum was completely unstoppable. What would it actually feel like to know your basic human needs are completely covered without having to clock in for a single hour of mandatory work? This is the core, beating heart of the promise of financial freedom. It is not fundamentally about buying luxury yachts or flashy cars. It is entirely about buying back your precious time and autonomy. Maya's consistent tracking allowed her to clearly see a not-so-distant future where her passive income would eventually surpass her total living expenses. She was no longer just passively hoping for a comfortable retirement decades down the line, she was actively engineering it right now. The Dividend Watch gave her the ultimate gift of absolute clarity and total control over her long-term financial destiny. You can absolutely replicate Maya's incredible success starting today. You do not need a massive initial investment or a six-figure salary to begin. You just need a firm commitment to consistency and a reliable method for tracking your ongoing progress. Open a simple blank spreadsheet on your computer, or simply grab a dedicated notebook and a pen. Buy a fractional share of a solid, historically reliable dividend-paying company or a broad market ETF. When that very first tiny payment arrives in your account, write it down immediately. Celebrate it as a major victory. You have just successfully planted the vital seed of your own lasting financial independence, and you now have the tools to watch it grow. Always remember that wealth building is a long marathon, not a quick sprint. The broader global economy will always inevitably have its dramatic cycles of boom and bust. Inflation will naturally ebb and flow over the decades, but a well-constructed portfolio built on reliable, consistently growing dividends provides a persistent, stabilizing counterweight to any economic turbulence. By focusing intensely on the actual income your assets generate rather than their wildly fluctuating daily market value, you effectively insulate yourself from making emotional, destructive financial decisions. The quiet, reliable hum of those regular dividend payouts quickly becomes your unshakable financial anchor during turbulent times. Maya is now entirely financially free. Her robust dividend income entirely covers her comfortable lifestyle, giving her the ultimate freedom to work only on meaningful projects she is deeply passionate about. Her journey definitively proves that you do not need to be a mathematical genius or a financial professional to achieve extraordinary, life-changing results. The gap between where you are currently standing and where Maya is today is bridged by a single, simple, daily habit. It is the conscious decision to start actively measuring what truly matters. It is the deliberate choice to stop being a passive, anxious observer of your money and finally become an active, confident architect of your own wealth. Every single dollar you invest and track today is a tiny, tireless employee working around the clock to buy back your future freedom. As those accumulated dividends continually compound, the timeline to your ultimate independence drastically shrinks. The math absolutely works, but only if you have the unwavering discipline to start tracking and let it run. Start your own dividend watch today. Track the pennies, and the dollars will eventually take care of themselves. Your unique path to lasting wealth is waiting to be written, one single payout at a time.